There, well, I just got the parts for the Super Pac-Man to convert over to the 60-in-1 multicade. I got it all opened up right now. I got most of it hooked up, at least just to the power supply. This kit came with a power supply, the JAMA harness itself that I have hooked up right now, and the board itself also came with a new joystick and some extra LED. These are LED buttons. Probably won't use all of them. I'm not really sure yet. But I do have it hooked up just to make sure everything's working. This is kind of a cheap power supply, cheap Chinese power supply, but it does work. And I do have to replace it out to take the, leaving the existing power supply in there and then just adding this to it, because the existing power supply has a isolation transformer for the monitor, which is something that you probably want to keep in there that the monitor requires. And it also has all the wiring for the fluorescent light, so I'm not going to mess with that. Here, well, this is the power supply. It's very similar to a computer power supply as far as the output voltages go. It is a switching power supply, so it has the positive 5 volt, couple grounds, negative 5 volt, and a positive 12 volt. For this particular board, it doesn't require the negative 5 volts, so I just have the positive 5 and the positive 12 hooked up to it, and that's all that's going to be hooked up to it when it's in the cabinet itself. It also has a 5 volt adjustment. Some game boards require 5.5 or 5.6. This particular one doesn't really matter too much on the tolerance, so I just got that set to a solid 5 volt. The game board, the 60-in-1 board itself, it's actually a pretty small board. It's kind of neat because it has a VGA output that I just have hooked up to a computer monitor right now just for testing purposes. And then it also does the regular CGA output through the JAMA harness, which will be used in the cabinet. There's a couple dip switches here. This one that's number 2 is turned on to enable the CGA or the VGA instead of the CGA. If you switch that down, it outputs the video to the CGA output. And I believe that is a volume adjustment. Not really sure yet. This kit didn't really come with a whole lot of documentation on how to hook it up, or actually it didn't come with any documentation at all. So I had to go on the internet and actually find it and print it out to find out what all the switch settings are. That's where you got the CGA selection here. But I'll get it all powered up and kind of show you what it looks like. Just sitting here. Alright, got the monitor stood on its side, ready to go. I'm just going to take the cord, plug it in. By the way, the cord that comes with this is kind of, it's only like a 3 or 4 foot cord. It's kind of a joke, but won't be using this. I'll be tapping into the power switch on the cabinet itself. So we'll plug this in. Power supply is on, and does have a couple of indicator lights. One thing I don't like about this power supply is it has the main voltage, the AC coming in, just out there and exposed, so I'm going to have to devise a cover or something for that, so I got to watch out for that. But as it first starts up, it does a check, assuming it's some kind of a check. And after about a minute or so, it'll come back up. So, okay, it's finally booted up now. Right now, it's just at a demo screen. I don't have any controls hooked up to it as of right now. This is just checking to make sure everything works. But everything does look good. I got the lights off so you can hopefully see it a little bit better. Looks really good on this LCD. It's might be something in the future. I might put an LCD monitor in the cabinet itself. Right now it still has the original CRT. I think it's a Wells Gardner CRT chassis. But everything works. You can kind of see the game board itself. Little indicator lights on there. So the next step is to drag the old cabinet over here, take it apart, and pull all the old wiring out, and put the new JAMA harness wiring in. I'm probably going to have to drill the control panel to put an extra switch in there, because I believe this board requires at least 2, but I'm going to go ahead and put the third switch in there. Alright, so I got the cabinet ready to go. Brought over to the work area to start taking apart, well, taking the parts out of it. Up front, in case we ever seen inside one, I guess there's the coin mech, which I'll keep all that in there. I'll even wire up the coin mechanism to the JAMA harness, because there is a spot for it, obviously. There's the coin bucket, which actually has a quarter in there right now, surprisingly. Front panel itself. Here I'm probably going to have to put in another 2 buttons here or here, wherever space allows. I can see the mounting holes for this joystick, so I probably won't be able to get in right here. Then around back, got the back tore off. You can see the monitor chassis right here. That's all going to stay in there. It's just going to keep using that. And then down here, this is the Super Pac-Man game board. This is the original game board from Midway. Unfortunately, this one no longer works. And then this board back here, this one is the medium power supply. That one's going to come out as well. And then all that wiring going up to the front, all the buttons and joystick, all that stuff gets taken out and replaced with that new JAMA wiring harness. This is the original power supply. This has the isolation transformer. I believe it's this one here. So this one is just going to stay in here. The 12 volt and 5 volt output will just be cut short. The only thing I'm using it for is just the isolation transformer. And it also has the wiring that goes up to, I probably can't see it. Here's the back side of the marquee. Has the fluorescent light back there. So that'll stay. But as far as the Pac-Man stuff, that all comes out due to it not working anymore, unfortunately. I'm not really sure what happened. I've taken this board out and reseated some of the socketed ICs, and it didn't do anything, so chances are it's probably an EEPROM that has some bad code in it, or who knows. Nothing burnt or anything, so nothing obvious wrong with it, but luckily this 61 actually has, for one of the games, Super Pac-Man, so I'm not really getting rid of Super Pac-Man, I'm just adding to it more or less. And I just noticed the quarter down there. I'm actually making money doing this project. So this is the before shot. Hopefully it's going to look a lot nicer. Obviously that game board is a heck of a lot smaller than the original, and I could get rid of that medium power supply board, and hopefully we can get it going here soon. Okay, so I gutted actually all the wiring out that I needed to pull out. I figure I'd start up front here. Just trying to debate on the controls, what I wanted to do with those. The problem is the original. I like the originals, but the problem is they're kind of old. This is just one of them. You can kind of see, how it works. Is you just push the button and that just pushes two contacts together. Versus these newer ones. This is one of the ones that came with that kit. It's a lot taller, but it doesn't take up as much room, so I could put another button down here if need be, whereas you see the one right next to it, you have that long arm, you can't really do much with it. I put this new one in here just to kind of see what it would look like. It's not too bad. I personally, it's a personal preference, I guess, but I kind of prefer the originals a little bit better. They do sell these type of buttons, more modern, up to date. That's got this little, this piece here actually pops out. So it's a more modern switch. That's what they sell. So I'll probably order a couple of those. I think they're dirt cheap. I just forgot to order them. And then, but I'm probably use the ones that came with the kit to replace a couple, add maybe one or two more. And then the joystick is similar. For right now, I'm going to keep the joystick the way it is. It's kind of neat how it works. If you push the joystick up, it pushes down on these contacts here, and then as you move it around, that's how it works. It's a lot. This new joystick, I'm going to show you real quick how that one works. It's the same idea, except for those big switches. You got these. Basically, the joystick will go through here, and that comes through, and then as you move it around, it pushes these buttons in to tell the game which way you're pointing it. This is the joystick that goes down in there. But I'm going to keep the original just for the time being. Maybe some other day I'll put it in there. So I'm not in a big hurry to change out the joystick, just the buttons for now, and then just to get it working. But around on the back, here is the original harness that was in there. There's not much to it compared to this other one, but got a little bit more room in there. I forgot about on this power supply. I was talking about that power cord being really short on that power supply for the new power supply, and I figured, well, I would just tap into one of the AC lines coming off of this safety switch here. But then I forgot all about this power supply. Actually has, kind of dirty, but has a plug on there. So really, I could just plug that right in there, and that'll work. It should work perfectly. Last I checked, if I remember correctly, this does work. So shouldn't be a problem plugging that right in, and I believe it switches on and off with the game. Even if it doesn't, I normally unplug these when they're not in use. But if it does, I mean, that'd be even better. So this is so far what it looks like. I think the hardest part now is just kind of figuring out what to do with the buttons, the controls. Try and get that figured out. Might have to take that out to the garage and drill out a hole to put that extra button in there. They were nice enough to, when they sent the kit, to give a couple of different color ones: green, red, blue, and 2 whites. Obviously the 2 white ones are for player 1, player 2 select, and then you got your 3 game switches here. I think these might just be temporary until I could get some buttons that I do like. Maybe something a little bit more original, but I don't know. I'll see as I go. Okay, I just got it finished up. Actually, just finished it up last night and kind of did the finishing touches on it this morning. So I'll take a look inside here. Well, here's the game board all mounted up. This is the 60 one. You can see the JAMA harness out here. Got a couple wires going up to the speaker here. This is where I decided to mount the power supply. I just right out of the way there, and it was a nice spot to run wires and everything. As I mentioned before, I was going to use this outlet down here. Well, it does work. The only drawback is it doesn't switch on and off with the monitor, switch and everything else. But that's, like I said, that's all right. I unplug these when they're not in use. The monitor didn't do much with the monitor. The monitor chassis, I did have to make a couple adjustments on the screen, the vertical hold and the vertical size. Take that back, the horizontal size. I guess the hardest part of this was just figuring out the video input, because this JAMA harness actually has, for the CGA input, has this connector here, which unfortunately didn't connect to anything in here, so I had to cut this off and then just solder the wires together from the this is the original cable. So I just soldered those on there, and surprisingly it worked. Came in handy. I had the original manual for the game, and it actually shows the schematics for the monitor chassis, so I was able to get a good pin out and model number and all that good stuff to kind of figure out what wires went where, because they were a little bit different. Obviously the green, red, and blue were all the same, but the monitor has a positive and negative vertical hold, and the JAMA harness it just has vertical hold. So I found out that you could just tie either one of those together and it'll work. So there's kind of a peek of the wiring. I already put the joystick or the control panel back together. Got the buttons, got those drilled out and everything. I know they're not exactly straight across due to my inability to cut a straight line, but they work. That's all that matters. I left this one in here. At first I didn't have it hooked up to anything. I just figured I'll just fill it in, but I actually found that because most games use this button here, so I just tap this into this switch, so you can use either or, and then these two out here don't really get used too much. Let's see, let me grab a light. I was able to get the little coin lights lit up. As I did wire up the coin mechanism, so if ever so desire to, I could switch this over to accept quarters, and it will play just like a normal arcade. Right now it's set on free play. I probably can't see. Let's see if I can position this in here. Yeah, you can't really see much, but that's the underside of the control panel. I bolted it on. This one actually has bolts instead of latches. It originally had latches, but someone modified that to put bolts in there. There's the test and service switch. I hooked those back up to the JAMA so I could reprogram the board if need be, or adjust the settings, I should say. And that's really about it as far as the internal. Yeah, all the parts kind of just laying around. I just cleaned this area up. It was a complete mess when I was doing it. I had to get out the soldering iron, desoldering iron. I just all kinds of stuff. I had to solder a lot of connectors because, you know, they kind of, I guess they guessed when they make that harness, you know, what size connectors you need, and of course a lot of them were not correct, so I just cut them off and soldered a lot of that stuff on. And I had to desolder a lot of stuff too off of the original controls. These are the original boards that I pulled out of there. Probably just throw these in storage, I guess. This is the medium power supply. This one was on the back. And then this one's actually two boards attached together. This is the actual Super Pac-Man game board. And then on the back side is the video board. So, doesn't work anymore. So, well, I guess I'll just throw it in the closet and if someone wants it, I guess. But I'll once I get this back into where it's supposed to go, I'll kind of give you a look at what some of the screenplay looks like. Well, here's the final product. Got it all put together. Yeah, kind of wipe it down a little bit and clean it up and move it over next to Centipede here, which is another project for another day. Everything works in it except for the video. But at least this one's up and running right now. You can take through. Hang on a second, let me get the lights so you can see the screen better. Okay, got the lights turned off so you can hopefully see the screen a little bit better. This is the main menu. This is basically where you select your games. You just use the joystick left and right, up, down. There's two things you could do in this part here. You could either preview the game or you could just go ahead and play the game. To preview the game, you just hit the fire. Basically, it just goes through the attract mode on the original arcade ROM. Got that, and then player one start. You could go ahead and start the game from there. Most of these games play exactly like the original games do. There's a couple of them in there that isn't quite right, but all in all, it's definitely worth it. Worth the cost and worth the effort to put it in. To exit a game, you actually have to just basically end the game. So if I want to exit this, basically I gotta end the game here. I can. Okay, last life. Okay, as soon as the game ends, as soon as it detects the game over and it starts to recycle the ROM, that's when it kicks back out into this main menu here. Now it's set up on free play, but at this point you could, if you didn't have it on free play, you could just put a quarter in, and then it would be the equivalent of doing that. And you can go ahead and select your game again. I'm not going to go through all of them. Just kind of a brief overview of kind of what the main menu looks like. And that's really about it as far as this, as far as the actual gameplay itself. Each game has obviously its own thing. And like I said earlier, it does have Super Pac-Man. So if you play this here, you know it's the actual thing. Here we go. And as the game ends, it'll go through the attract mode for each game, and it does them in order because this was the last game played, Super Pac-Man. It's going to be doing the attract mode for Super Pac-Man. After a while, it will automatically go back to the main menu and then just go to the next game, play that attract mode, just to prevent burn-in, screen burn-in. This particular CRT tube does have burn-in. It's actually pretty bad. So if you turn the lights off, it's not bad. But if you play with the game with the lights on, you could definitely notice it. Same with Centipede over here. You can actually probably see it. I don't even have to adjust much. You could bonus every 12,000 points. But it once the tube's on and displaying an image, if you have the lights off or just turned down, it's not really all that noticeable. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Sorry it's so long, but I know I kind of get to rambling. But if you like the video, let me know. If there's things that you'd like to see on the 60-in-1, let me know, and I'll put up another video. If you want to see each game individually, a preview of each game, I could do that. I could I could show you, if you want to know how to set up the games, the dip switches, settings, and stuff. Let me know. I could do another video on that. Anyway, thanks again for watching. Take care.